a dynamic that begins to transform the confused into the wise, the harsh, the hardened, the closed down into the opened, the willing, the warm, by itself. This is a transpersonal process. It's not me changing myself. And this gives rise, this filling this up, it gives rise to the 7 enlightenment factors, which is another story. But mindfulness is right there at the beginning of that, Dhamma Vicaya, which I've been presenting, a Dhamma Vicaya exercise to explore. Energy aroused because of that. Refreshment, gladness and uplift. Calming, collectedness, equanimity. This is another story. Another piece, Just contemplate the flow of those, and this again, the same phrases are used, just as the rain pours down, little droplets on the mountains. The water flows down along the slope and fills the clefts, gullies and creeks. These becoming full fill up the pools fill up the streams, the rivers, the lakes, and so on, into the great ocean. And so it is that associating with good persons, and that fills up, gives rise to hearing true Dhamma. Hearing true Dhamma gives rise to faith and rise. We're not totally enmeshed in this. There's an opening. As that fills up, it takes a while to fill up. It's not just a push a button thing. It's like the river. It takes a while for that to fill up. Just keep dripping, dripping, dripping. The bits that you can reach, that give you a sense of encouragement. Keep listening to those, turning to those. And it fills up. This fills up careful attention. So our attention is more constantly penetrative, not just brief episodes, but steadily attentive to the way we move our bodies, the way we affect each other, how we use our requisites, how we respond to systems of routines. Carefully attending, not just becoming automatic, using our time carefully. Now there is energy, now there is wakefulness, apply it. Time is running out. It's not just switch off, it's 6 o'clock. It's, there's energy there, right? So keep reviewing. And so that the sati is sustained, and so on. And then turning around, so we come to this process, filling up the stream. That's to me it's kind of always been interesting to notice the interplay of the words. If you have a little, even a smattering of Pali, which is about all I have, you notice that sota is the stream, sotapanna. Sota is also associated with the hearing. They derive from different roots, but I can't imagine the Buddha wouldn't have noticed that sota sounds pretty much like sota. And yet this is the metaphor, stream entry. The Eightfold Path is likened to a stream. Or the language here is about stream, isn't it? Flowing from this to that. Filling and flowing. And you get a feeling for that. When you listen to the poetry of that, it's not switch this on, push, gets the net, no push. There is no push in any of this. Is there? Things fill, they naturally overflow. There's no push. But there's movement. That's interesting. And the movement we might associate sota, stream, sota, listening, hearing. Notice what your hearing consciousness is like. How he says hearing the good Dhamma. Notice what hearing consciousness is like. Say you compare it with visual consciousness. Visual consciousness is always, by and large, by default, point focused. Isn't it? You open your eyes, pretty soon they will look for some detail to focus on, which occupies maybe 3% of the visual field. And then that gives a sense of, steadiness. That, right, I'm here, lock. And that's the consciousness that we use predominantly in our lives, particularly with screen life or visual. Organisational life, get a piece of paper out, put some lines on it, scribble some words on it, shuffle it around, add it all up. And organisational life is primarily organised through that faculty and the mind that responds to that faculty. This is this, this is that, this is this, this is that. And it's point. Now you come to the hearing consciousness. As you know, you're quite comfortable hearing silence. It's quite. You don't find you can be quite steady with that. It doesn't seek something to focus on in the same way the eye does. You feel but it's also very wide. The effect on the citta, on the mind, heart, widening, receptive, softening, softening, deeply receptive, seeing, different, sharp, narrower, directive. Listening, wide, softer, receptive. Association with good people. What do you think's most useful for that? I would say stopping, softening, receptive, widening, listening. Oh, he does it this way. Do it that way. Oh, they're made uncomfortable by this. They're pleased with that. We're not listening with our ears, we're listening with our hearts. Hearing true Dhamma, listening, taking it in. And that I would suggest is to me it's very helpful. Not only listening with the ears, but listening with the heart, because it helps to take you through the noise, strangely enough. Because you focus on the details of the noise, the description I have of this is this, this is that, it could be this, it could be that. A lot of busyness, very captivating. I mean, I've sometimes spent time in the street rebuilding the whole monastery. Build a staircase there, knock that window out, fix that, and then change that, and maybe get that, and just all these visual images come flooding in, and it's captivating. And you get into the detail, and you don't see the wood for the trees, and you come back and listen. This is agitation. This is restless agitation. This is lack of contentment. Yeah, of course it's captivating. Samsara is delightful, delectable, easy. Restraint. Listening. And listening, you kind of simplify the whole process. You suddenly see the picture. Here I am, grumbling about this and grumbling about that. And I'm actually fed, sheltered, looked after, supported. Space, time, no pressure, no tax, no money to have to figure out. I'm still grumbling and complaining. Or something is. Or I'm complaining about myself. I'm not good enough, I'm inadequate, I can't make it here, I'm a failure. Stop. Don't you see that? Misconduct. And it's illuminating, because I imagine any one of us with a little bit of incentive can produce an identikit picture of ourselves with all our problems and da-da-da-da. Or somebody else. I know what she's like, she's really da-da-da-da-da. You think, yeah, that's it, I got it nailed. You got it nailed, all right. What does it feel like? Ill will. Painful, ignoble, endless, insatiable. And that's the nature of the hindrances and samsara in general. It is insatiable, it does not stop. You scratch the itch, that's got it. Oh, another little scratch. Oh, that's got it. Oh, another little scratch. You pick the scab, that's got rid of it. Oh, it's still bleeding. Why is that? Leave it alone. But I got this nasty scab, leave it alone. I got this terrible, leave it alone. It will heal. I'm so wounded, leave it alone. Just place awareness over that. This is a feeling. This is the mind, scrambled, oppressed. In its oppressed state, its difficult state. Yes, we all know that. Yeah. And this is listening, steady, open, warm. I can't fix, but sati sampajana applied is what's required. And simplifying. And whenever the me sound arises, the me experience arises, this is where, I tell you, this is where be very careful, because it is convincing, fascinating. It is the pivot of the unawakened life. It's, it is the central pivot. And it's this removing of that pivot, not through some sort of demolition job, but through finding other qualities to orient and pivot around. Sense restraint. Faith. Hearing the good Dhamma. Faith itself, another interesting, for people who like words, saddha. Rather similar to saddha, don't you think? Saddha and saddha, probably can't hardly tell the difference. Saddha, the ear. Saddha, faith. Sota, stream. Sota, listening. Do you think the Buddha was not aware of those words and their resonances and nuances? So faith is a kind of that willingness to listen deeply. Because when you listen deeply, you notice beyond the me noise, or behind it, or I don't know, but apart from the me noise, there's a citta that rises. It doesn't make a noise, so you don't necessarily notice it. And this is the momentum that's carrying through. The citta clawing its way out. And how does it do that? You find always steadying. Cooling. There's an opening here. A place of non-pressure. A place of non-push. The end of the inhalation, the end of the exhalation, the end of a thought. The moment when I drop my preoccupations, even for a second. If it were not there, if there were no access, there would be no way out. But there is. We rush past it. We rush past the door, trying to get in through the wall instead. Rushing past the doorway, trying to get through the brick wall. It's pausing, lingering. As we sustain our practice, sitting, standing, walking, pick up the signs. You're walking, notice just as your leg comes down on the ground, walk with your legs, not your upper body. A lot of people walk with their eyes or their heads. Relax the eyes, relax the head, whole body. What legs can do. Legs connected to the back, strengthening effect as your left leg comes down. Your weight rests on that for that microsecond. It causes a lift in the other leg, swings forward. If there were no lift, if there were no swing, you couldn't walk. And let the swing happen through the natural flow of the body. You do this for a while, you get a feeling for natural flow of walking, without going anywhere, just enjoying the natural flow of the body, walking its walk, and then walking through the noise of the mind, noise of distraction, till the citta picks up the sign. This is fluidity, this is the flow. It's firm, steady, comfortable. You can do it, you can walk. Simple, take it in. So let's take up time for our Dhamma practice, direct today and on as long as energy and faith persists.